Hello everyone, take two. I just filmed this whole thing and then I realized it wasn't recording, so let's start again. So I'm going to show you a video of how we are going to fill this brand new raised bed we just made, Hügelkultur style, by using all of our green waste, cardboard, paper, compost, anything we have around the garden to fill it up so that we don't have to waste money on buying soil. So all of these beds here were started that way, especially these really tall ones. We composted and put all garden waste into those for a good few months before we use them, and then we only needed about 10 centimeters of soil. And then, as I showed in a photo the other day, what happens is, see, this one here was only just made up last season. It was filled right the way to the top, but see, as it breaks down, it settles. So everything that you put in there breaks down, feeds your plants, and then the next season, so when we finish with these greens now, we'll cut them back and we will do exactly the same thing. We will keep layering on top of that till we get to the top, add 10 centimeters of soil, then put the next season's produce in. So that's what we did with these beds. These ones, again, they settled down by about halfway, and then we just topped them up again this season and planted into the top. And eventually, after about a year, they will completely fill and you'll only have to slightly top them up. But this is a great way to be able to plant in to your raised beds without having to spend money on filling them up with soil. So, as I said, this is the raised bed that John and I just made. We just made it up with some pieces of fencing we had and some aluminium, and we've done it along the deck here. We used to have this fencing here. It's just to, number one, stop the chicken getting out and stop the dogs getting in, and we thought we would utilize this space and grow some more food. We have a massive pile over here. I'll just shut the gate, of all of the cuttings from the garden that I've done over the last week. We've got the white mulberry and the black mulberry that I trimmed back, loads of sweet potatoes. We've got cuttings from rosemary, plants, our bananas, just so much stuff in this pile. So I'm going to utilize this. And I've also got some cardboard here that we saved in the shed that I'm going to use. And we also had a load of mulch from a tree lopper delivered, which we've used to revitalise all our paths. But a lot of it was palm and some other things. Now, people frown on palm. It's brilliant, especially for this, because you use it at the very base of your bed, and it acts like a sponge really well. If you've ever seen the consistency of what palm looks like, it's very spongy and holds water really well. So we're going to use this interdisperse between the layers and to fill the little gaps. One of my tips that I have when you're filling this is always start with your bigger logs and branches and so forth at the bottom first. But if you have a plant like a mulberry, like sweet potatoes, anything like that that will shoot, you have to smother it in each layer. Otherwise, the mulberries will shoot all the way from the base all the way up. So a good meter they came up in our other beds, and there was little mulberry plants popping up out the side. They definitely have a will to live. So I will be sandwiching these mulberry cuttings along the bottom. We are actually going to make another big long raised bed across the front here. We're going to remove these three and do one that fits properly all the way along. So I'm going to reserve half of this to be able to put into that one. And what I'll do is do a layer and then stop the video and then come back and show you what I put in that layer and how I do it, and then continue on each layer, because especially on top of the mulberry cuttings, I'm going to have to make sure that I put a layer of cardboard and of wood chip to really try and smother it so that they can't grow through. So I'm going to do the first layer. This is about, I think it's 3 meters long by about 90 centimeters wide, so it's a really big bed. I shall pause this now and come back shortly and show you the first layer. Okay, so I'm just doing a quick pause here to show you. I've taken a really large amount of these mulberry cuttings here and very loosely thrown them in. It's filled it to about halfway. Hello, puppy. But there are a lot of gaps between here, a lot of air, which is perfectly fine. It just means it's going to take longer to break down. So what I'm going to do now is go over to the mulch that I showed that was delivered, the wood chip that was delivered, and I'm going to come through here with some buckets, and I'm going to fill in as much as I can in between these mulberries with all of that, and I will come back and show you what that looks like. Okay, this is where we're up to now. I've gone through and I've put about a 20 to 30 centimeter layer of the palm trimmings in here, and I've given it a push down. Now you will find as you fill this, it goes down and down and down, so don't worry if the branches are sticking up or anything like that. And also as you water it and as it breaks down over the next few weeks, it'll really sink. So what I'm going to do next is put a layer of cardboard, and then I will probably do some more mulberry and other trimmings from the top of the pile here, some rosemary and other things, some sweet potatoes, and then come back and show you after that. Or I might even show you the cardboard just so you can see what that looks like. See you soon. Okay, just unpausing again quickly. This one I've actually done quite a big thick open layer. I'm not ripping it up because I am trying to make sure there's a couple of gaps for wormies and things to get through and the mycelium, but I don't want those mulberries shooting. So I've just put a big thick layer on. Okay, I'm just pausing again. I put in here a really big thick layer on top of the cardboard of rosemary, of all the rosemary bushes from out the front that were chopped back. Then I have put a layer of sweet potato, really thick layer of sweet potato. And this is something I do not want shooting in here. See, it's already got roots all through it. So that's why we're not going to cover this with soil straight away. Otherwise we would just end up with a sweet potato bed. We want to leave this open to actually compost down. And then I've just started at that end, and I'm going to do another layer of mulberry over the top again. Then likely another layer of the wood chips, and then another smother layer of the cardboard. Because what I'm trying to do is with these mulberries and these sweet potatoes, I mean, I've barely made a dent in my big pile over here. I do want to save half of it for the other bed. So I'll probably have to save some of these mulberries for the other bed to go down the bottom, but I'm going to do hopefully the rest of the mulberries from this side here, and then maybe some more sweet potatoes. There's a lot more than what I thought. And then over the next, say, 2 or 3 weeks, this will drop by half and I will be able to add more in. And that's why we're not going to grow in this season. We're just going to use it basically, instead of being a big messy pile like that, we're going to compost it in the raised beds. So I will keep progressing and come back again when I've done some more. Just unpausing again for a second here. I wanted to show that you really don't have to cut things up in here. Down here is a massive papaya trunk. It goes all the way through here from a papaya we cut down. Just literally chuck it in and cover it over. And there's some more pieces of papaya here, banana leaves. We've got artichokes that I cut back, and the passion fruit vine too. Now, like I said, I noticed that a lot of this sweet potato is already reshooting. So I definitely, unless you don't mind having sweet potatoes all through your gardens, I definitely wouldn't be burying this to plant on top of. It really needs time to break down first. Just showing you again. And now I'm going to put wood chips on top and then cardboard and be back. Okay, I have now put a about 20 centimetre layer of the wood chips or the palm shavings on top. It's getting close to the top, but honestly I'm not worried. I will even end up mounding it up really quite high because it sinks so much. So I'm going to now do the layer of cardboard, but I just had a thought while I was doing the wood chips of, if people say, well, I don't have a lot of branches, I don't have big trees that I'm cutting back, there's a couple of things. You can wait until you have green waste in your area and you can just go and take it off the neighbour's verges and use that. Or another thing that I used to do earlier on in the piece, which isn't free, will cost you money, is you can actually start it with straw or hay bales in the base. So we had a guy that used to deliver locally, $10 a bale. If you had 10 delivered, it was $100. That's another way to do it. And if you actually put the hay bales in the base, they will fill it up about halfway, and then that ends up composting down over about a year and goes flat down as well. So that's another little tip, is to use hay or straw bales. And you can also get, a lot of the times if you have a trailer, we don't use animal products here or animal manures in our garden. This is all done veganically, but if you do, there are also a lot of places where you can take your trailer if you have one and drop them off, and they will give you the straw and bedding from horse stables, and that's actually something that you can use to fill up as well. That's for free. Okay, I've popped my cardboard layer on. This one I've done quite thoroughly right to the edges because I really want to smother that sweet potato and the mulberries, but it is not going to hinder the breaking down. It's not going to hinder the bugs or the beneficial bacteria that we want to grow, because there's still lots of aeration around the side. I would never recommend throwing a tarp or anything that actually blocks the air or the light out, unless you're trying to smother something like couch grass that's accidentally got in there. And actually that's something else to be careful when you can use lawn clippings in it if it's from your lawn and you know you haven't used any sprays on it, but not if it is a runner grass like cooch or kaiku, something like that. If it's something that is not that invasive type grass, then yes, you can use lawn clippings, but I again would advise using them in the very lower layers as filler and making sure that you put these block out layers in between, because this cardboard will eventually break down. It's very similar to when you do sheet mulching in your garden to block out weeds that you don't want or grasses. This will take about 6 months to break down, and by that time all the worms and everything will be able to get through, but by then all of the mulberry and everything underneath will be dead. Now this at the moment looks like it's full, but it is absolutely not. So I am going to keep going with more of this on top. That's probably it for the cardboard layers, and then I'll get Sam to chuck some mulch on the top. So I might come back and show you an end product, I might not, but I will have a think and see how I go. Okay, the last installment, I have mounded it up. I don't know if you can see if I do it from the side. Mounded it up quite high with the passion fruit and the sweet potatoes, and I actually gave it a quick rake around here. I've got lots left, some grapevines and other things left for the other bed. I've got some cardboard left. Hello Earl Grey. And I've just mounted it up. That's all I'm going to do for today. I'm very sweaty and I'm going to have a nice coffee. One thing I wanted to say after I said about not putting a tarp over it, what we'll probably do, because this is next to our deck and we don't want to have to look at it while it's breaking down, is I'm going to put a piece of shade cloth over it and just put it over and tuck it down the sides like a blankie, just to keep it all contained, but it will still be able to breathe. And the good benefit of that is if you have like an 80% block out, it'll actually stop the new shoot. So the sweet potato will shoot, but then it will hit the shade cloth and won't be able to go anywhere. And so we'll just go yellow and die back. So that's it. One big giant 3 meter raised bed filled up. Thanks for watching.